brief overview of some of our new Visions programs, starting with our zoo programs. Lee Zanzonic is the instructor here, and she brought some of her students, so she's going to start with a little presentation.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So thanks for coming out today. We're excited to have you here at the zoo. Our classroom is located right here. We're actually upstairs on the second floor, and this is our view every morning, so you get to have breakfast with the bisons on a daily basis. So we have, I think, the best view of any school around. So I'll just tell you a little bit about our program. The students will also introduce themselves, and we made a video just to show you a little bit about what our day was. So in case you're not too familiar with our program, this is a great opportunity for students to have a lot of hands-on learning and really explore the different career options that are involved in working with animals, with wildlife, zoology, biology, and students get a lot of opportunities because we're here at the zoo and we get to utilize a lot of the zoo's resources. And also, in case you weren't familiar with our program, this is a 4-credit program. So it is a pretty rigorous AP type of course. Our main focus is zoology, which is under the science, but they also get the English credit, the social studies credit, and an internship credit as well. We do spend time out on zoo grounds every single day. Some of the opportunities we have are exclusive to our class, and we're fortunate enough to be able to work with a lot of the zoo staff. So we've had opportunities to go on private tours. We get to see a lot of things that are behind the scenes, animal holding areas. We get to see the zoo veterinary hospital. We get to go inside some of the facilities and see how the building runs. So the students learn not just about how the zoo animals are kept, but also how the zoo operates. We have a lot of hands-on learning. One of the projects we're excited about to be taking on this year is working with the 4 sheep that are at the Heritage Farm. They are a little overweight, so we are helping them with the exercise program where we get to walk the sheep regularly, and we're also working with target training where we're helping the sheep to touch a target and learn how to get rewarded. So when they need to have physical exams done or the keepers need to work with them, they're used to being handled. The behind-the-scenes tours are great. We're fortunate enough to have a lot of the zoo staff give their time to us, so we get to see how everything operates. This was an example where just a week or 2 ago, we got to go to the Heritage Farm, look behind the scenes, and see how we would handle a zoonotic problem. So zoonosis are diseases that go from animals to people or people to animals. So the students really got to explore a real-life scenario when bird flu was common a couple of years ago and how the zoo had to take measures to prevent their animals from getting it. So we actually got to see what the zoo did and run through the drills so they can understand there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. And finally, probably one of the best things, because we get to do this every single day, is live animal observations. If you haven't been to the zoo in a while, you definitely want to come because there's a lot of new animals here, a lot of new babies as well. So it's really great. Even if you have, you go see the gorillas, every day is something different. They have different enrichments, and being animals, they're always doing something different. So the students really get to know the animals, follow the animals, and it's always exciting to see what they're up to. In case you haven't noticed, we do all look the same. We do have a dress code. Because we are out on zoo grounds every day, a lot of times zoo guests come up to us, they think we work here, they might ask, where's a restroom, where's a certain animal located. So we do want to look professional, but we don't want to look exactly like zoo staff. So we do wear our zoo polo shirts and our zoo sweatshirts so people are able to tell we're here with a purpose. Also, it's always recommended students wear the proper gear because we go outside every single day, rain or shine or snow. So they definitely want to make sure that they're prepared for the elements because part of working in an environment like this is working outside. The exciting thing is at the end of the year we have a great culminating project. All year long, students pick one zoo animal and they research that animal in depth. And at the end of the year, they actually build a scale model exhibit, which some of them last year were 4 or 5 feet, they were huge. And we actually got to work with the architect who designed some of the exhibits here at the zoo, and she did one-on-one consultations with our students on 2 separate occasions to help make sure that their scale model that they were building would work. And students get to present all their research at the end of the year. They invite the homeschool counselors, homeschool administrators, their parents can come, zoo staff come. We have a couple of the local college professors, especially Canisius, we have our articulation agreement with them. They like to come out and take a look at our projects. So these are just 2 samples of student projects. These pictures don't do them justice. This cheetah project was probably almost as big as this entire table that the student from Williamsville North designed. And here was the gorilla exhibit designed by a student from Kenmore West that has both an inside and an outside enclosure for the gorillas. So the students are real excited to show off their projects, talk about their conservation message, and share their research with their families and their folks at their home school. And we do have a video that the students put together that they just wanted to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what we do here at the zoo. So I'm going to have the students introduce themselves to you, and also because a huge message here at the zoo is conservation. It's something the zoo is very passionate about promoting to zoo guests, and it's something that our class is very passionate as well. So they'll just introduce themselves and they'll give you a little bit of a conservation fact. After that, we'll have Lisa from the education department tell you a little bit about a program that's here at the zoo that would be applicable to many of your students that they may be interested in. And then at the end of your meeting, we hope that you're able to stick around for a few minutes. The students will be back. In case you've seen, we have some biofacts out there. We're going to have some live animals coming in and visiting, so hopefully you can stick around for that.
Hi, I'm Natalia. I'm from DePue High School. Did you know every square mile of the ocean has 46,000 pieces of plastic floating in it? Over 1 million animals, aquatic animals, will die from ingesting plastic. Instead of using plastic, we should use reusable bags, water bottles, and utensils to help fight this issue.
Hi, my name is Georgianne. I go to Lancaster High School. Do you know how much water each person in the U.S. is estimated to use in a day? The average total amount of water each person uses in the U.S. is 50 gallons a day. You can easily help with conserving water resources by checking your faucets for leaks and taking shorter showers.
Hi, I'm Danielle Karniski from DePue High School. Did you know that in 2009, Americans threw away almost 9 million tons of glass? That could fill enough tractor trailers to stretch from NYC to LA and back. Instead of throwing out glass, recycle it.
Hello, my name is Evan Badger from Iroquois High School. Did you know that polar bears have a coat that appears white, but the hairs are actually blue?
Hello, I'm Jessica Terry from Alden High School. Did you know that only 1% of Earth's water supplies are able to be used for drinking water?
Hello, I'm Michaela from Cleveland Hill, and did you know that the lions are on the vulnerable IUCN list and that they are trophy hunted? And to protect them, we can track them in sanctuaries and record their progress.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Runbrecken, and I'm from Lancaster High School. Did you know that 1 million seabirds and 100,000 marine animals are killed annually from plastic in our ocean?
By recycling plastic containers, bags, and etc., you can help save many animal lives.
Nice job, thank you. That was our first public presentation. And now I'll just invite Lisa to come up from the education department. She's one of the education specialists here to tell you about a program that's applicable to many high school students.
Great. So hi, my name is Lisa. We started a program last year at the Buffalo Zoo that gives kids an opportunity to explore a lot of different animal type and conservation careers. We focus mostly on disadvantaged kids economically and kids that are from groups that are underrepresented in the life sciences. So they come to the Buffalo Zoo for 8 weeks. They get to explore 6 different careers. They talk to people in the field about how they got their job, what they love about their job, and any kind of barriers they had to overcome to get their job. Then they do hands-on activities. We did things like working with our zoo vet. We did behavioral research projects last year, many other things. And then they work in groups to make group project work every single week. And then at the end of the 8 weeks, we have a whole presentation day where they're stationed all throughout the zoo, and they get to present whichever projects they want to zoo staff, volunteers, visitors, and their families. Best thing about this program is that it's free, and we actually pay the students to do it. So, we're really focusing on kids that don't necessarily have these opportunities. So I have sent a lot of people emails about the program, but I'd like to get into some schools to talk to the kids and tell them about the program. So if you have a school that is specifically has a lot of disadvantaged kids in it, ages 14 to 18, I'd love to come in and talk to them. The program starts in January. It goes through January and February every Saturday, and we're accepting applications until December 4th. So the applications include an essay. They have to explain why they want to be in the program, what careers they're interested in, and then they also have to get a recommendation letter from a guidance counselor or from a science teacher. It's pretty competitive. Last year we got 45 applications. We can only accept 15 students. So, it's pretty hard to get into, but it's a really awesome program. So I have flyers here that you can hang up at the school, and I also have little brochures that you can take too. So feel free to take these back with you. And if you want me to come in and talk to your students, I can leave my information with you. Sure. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You can just pick up a flyer on the way, and also we have multicolored flyers here that talk about our new articulation agreement that we have with Canisius College. 4 of my students from last year were able to take advantage of it starting this upcoming fall. So that's something new that might not be online on the BOCES website yet, so make sure you check that out as well. Thank you, and we will see you at the end of your meeting with the animals in the biocraft.
Well, hey, good morning. I'm Terry Rue. I think I know many of you. I think maybe you know me from the Twilight side of the house, too, But one of the other things I get to do, and really is a pleasure, is I'm principal of some of our satellite programs, which includes all of our New Vision programming. So we're fortunate today. We're joined by, I'm joined with Chris Tillman and Shatanya Thornton, who are the teachers for the health programs at Buffalo General Hospital and Millerfield Moore Suburban. Jen Steiner is our legal academy, so we're just going to spend literally just a few minutes, just kind of a little once over the world. I guess when it comes down to the New Vision programming, we're very proud of it. The zoology program, this is only year 2, so we still feel that the word has yet to really reach all corners of our education community. So, but there are so many good things going on. I guess what we're just trying to do today is highlight a little bit, but also to let you know that if you want more information, it would be our very much be our pleasure to come visit. If you have students who need more information. In the past, we've had students, alumni, what have you, maybe even come in and do like a peer-to-peer thing. But we're available as well. And if you need, if you'd like some more information, or if you have students who are interested that just don't know enough about it, and it's as simple as even coming in and sitting down with a few students just to kind of answer whatever questions they may have. We do have an information night this year. It's January 31st. It'll be at the Harkness Center, trying to keep it central, 6 to 8. And all the teachers will be present, and they'll do a more comprehensive review of the programming. And then get into this as the winter ends and spring begins. We'll be right in the middle of that application process. This is an honors level program. We want the students to, we want students who are, of course, in great standing. As all the programs have the 4-credit offering. So typically it's seniors who are mostly have already kind of got through, but they have an interest in each of the given fields. So I'm going to invite Chris and Chaitanya up with me, and so they're just going to talk a little bit about their programs. And then I'm going to mention briefly a little bit about the Legal Academy. Jen Steiner would be here, but she is in session down the road over at Canisius College with her students right now, so it's kind of hard for her to get away. So.
Hi. Some of you look familiar, some of you don't. Hopefully everyone will look familiar because we'll have all kinds of applicants come spring. I'm Chris Tillman. I teach at Buffalo General, well, at the medical campus. So we have the advantage of everything under the sun. We have not broken into the Children's Hospital yet because they're in quite a state of flux. They're moving into the new building on Veterans Day. So it's crazy down there. It's interesting. They're building a new parking ramp. The parking ramp, they are allowing you to park on the first 2 levels, so if anybody needs to go down there, it looks like it's not done, but you can. Terry and Lee pretty much told everything about it. We just have a slide about some of the places that our students have been and what they're doing. And that's just a very small list. We probably have over 50 different places that the students go to for our quote clinical experiences.
So I am Chaitanya Thornton, and I teach out of Millard Fillmore Suburban Hospital, and we partner with a few people as well. Our programs do parallel one another. However, we might have some variables. We are partnered also out of Millard Fillmore Suburban. I am not the campus, but we do have, we do, right. But we do get to DeGraff Hospital, some UBMD facilities, endocrinology, the ortho is a new place that we're going to for UBMD today as you go right under the Harlem Viaduct. We are in that building, and we're trying to find some new places as well. So we're always looking. The students are getting the opportunity, as she said, to visit a lot of these places, see a lot of surgeries, Buffalo General's, the cardiac place, but
I had 2 kids see an autopsy the other day. I was kind of jealous.
so yeah, they get to experience a lot lot of great things.
They were thrilled, by the way. Nobody passed out. Nobody threw up. They loved it.
So that,
Yeah.
so that's pretty much.
Yes, that's it.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah.
On to the,
Yeah. Thanks,
So-
everybody. Thank you.
thank you guys. Promised we'd be quick. Seriously,
They wanted us to be quick and we were.
Nancy said if it wasn't, she was going to deflate our tires when we were up here. So, okay, so the Legal Academy at Canisius College right now, this is the present class. Some of the photos you'll see have some students from last year, but this is our present crew, our current crew, and it's a nice group of students. They have been really getting out and about. So the Canisius College is our gracious host, but they're also a partner. And they open up their doors and allow our students access to many of the things in their criminal justice and their pre-law programming. So there are programs that our classes, our students could go sit through if they so desire. There's also some academic clubs. They do a guest speaker series. Last year they had the Chief Justice in town, and so they do some pretty neat stuff. University of Buffalo's Law Library is another partner, and they're also very gracious. You know, it's almost a lost art, the researching, particularly in a law library. So having our students have the ability to get in there, and actually, of course, some of their instruction parallels it, but just to understand how a law library works and to have the opportunity to access it, and they have access to it throughout the year. So one of the really cool things about the Legal Academy is they're seeing sort of a boom in access to different locations. So you might think Legal Academy, okay, these are people who go to the courts and maybe they go to the police station, but they're really getting to see quite a bit more. So yes, indeed, we are in the courts, but we're also in everything from common council to your municipalities, government. And so we've been very fortunate that many of the Western New York leaders from both parties have opened their doors to our students. We presently have students in the Republican and Democratic headquarters. You see Mark Polkar is there. They've really been all over, and again, our political system has really been pretty much in the forefront the last year or so, right? We had the whole presidential election. So what we saw last year was that many of our students are very interested in the political side. So the Legal Academy has taken on kind of a new spin, not in addition to the courts, in addition to the foundations of the criminal justice system, but there's also a lot of students who have a strong interest in how our government works, and even the political and the legislative side. So, Senator Kennedy's taken them on, Senator Gallivan, Congressman Higgins, all are sponsoring our students, your students, right now, and we're really pleased to have that happen. So. And we are a participant with the UB Law School's mock trial program, so we're hoping for a win. If you got a team, good luck. Just finish here. The federal court, of course, I think many of you know we have the new federal court building, and this here is just kind of a list of some of the sponsored internships, and this grows. This ebbs and flows, kind of depends with the students. So we've got a nice, robust class right now in the Legal Academy. We're really proud of the things that are happening there. And we hope that if you have students who are interested in it, that you would reach out to us. We'd be glad to come talk about it. It just comes down to it. It's we hope to provide meaningful experiences for our students. And if we don't, then well, shame on us. So we value your input. We value the things that that you need, and we like to hear from you as well. So presently, as we said, there are 4 New Vision programs. As many of you may remember, last year we attempted to roll out a business model. And honestly, there wasn't enough interest to run it. We can't run something if we don't have students for it. We are presently in development right now for like an advanced media and communication programming. We are hoping to maybe have it ready for this year, but it won't be. It'll be ready for next year, we believe. We've got some great partners in Buffalo who are willing to open their doors to our students, your students, and we just hope that we can continue to provide meaningful experience for your students in New Vision programs. And again, let us know if we can come brief your students if you need anything. We're here for that. All right, thanks for your time. I'm going to turn it over to, I guess, Nancy, are you here?
Can I have just 2 seconds?
Yes.
Actually,
Of course.
in January, we like to try and get, Mr. Ruby, you're not doing this.
Oh, goodness.
Your former students, or our current students that are in the program now, talk to some potential candidates. So pretty soon we'll be asking if that's okay, and what we do is we just have the kids, let's say the kids from Depew, just stay back in Depew, and Kim, if we can arrange that, to sit in a conference room, call somebody down that might be interested. So we may be giving you a call about that, okay? Just so you know. And if there's a school that doesn't have any students currently this year, and you want somebody to come in, just give us a call, and we'll see what we can arrange for you. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you. Yeah, we got
I think we're going to scoop. We got to get to class. So have a good day.
So now Mike Candela is going to talk to us about, he's the CDOS coordinator for Clarence and Lancaster. And he's going to talk to us about some of the initiatives he's done since he's been there. He's only been there like 6 months, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, about that.
And he can answer any questions, hopefully, or he'll be able to find out some information for us. It's at Miller Fillmore and then No. Any other questions on New Vision?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Candela. I'm the program coordinator for CDOS at both Lancaster and Clarence. I started in the role in about April last year. Trying to get into administration, working on that degree. But prior to that, being a school counselor for about 10 years in a rural school district, and having some very specific knowledge about the CDOS, but being so overwhelmed with all the associated tasks with being a counselor, trying to find different ways to integrate that in. So before we get started, That's not right. I anticipated that maybe there'd be some tech associated with this, but because there's not, if you have a smartphone, have some type of device that you can log on to right now and go to that survey, I just want to try to get a pulse of who I have here, their understanding of what the CDOS components are. And I do this intentionally because one of the resources that I plan on sharing also is going to be using Google Forms. So just about 30, 40 seconds, there's about 5 questions. You do have to use the exact alphabet, how it's alphabetized for each individual letter. So if you wouldn't mind, if you have tech, please go ahead and fill that survey out for me really quickly, and I'm not going to talk while you do that. So as everyone's kind of orienting themselves to that, I'll go ahead and continue forward again. All right, so I really do not want to give a reiteration of what the CDOS credential is. That was really not my goal. This thing's been in concept now for about 4 years, and realistically, I want to make sure that this is applicable as much as possible. And when I remember, talking to my special ed director when this came out, I laughed at her. She walked into my office. She said, "Mike, you're the school counselor. CDOS is here. I want you to make sure that you're career planning everyone." And I giggled. And then my principal came in and said, "Hey, Mike, we want to make sure that you're career planning everyone. Make that a feature of your program." And then I started saying things like, not enough time, not accessible. The document that they put in front of you is something that is not going to be user-friendly. Yes, they reference Career Zone. Have you ever put a kid on Career Zone? 7, 8 hours later, finally you can press print and you're able to go ahead and put them through the document. So for me, particular today, I don't really necessarily want to talk about work-based learning for technical education because that's going to be unique to each individual district that's here. I'm not necessarily going to talk about the employability profile, but I'm going to share with you a resource that we developed through our program for career planning that's going to expedite that process, fulfill the compliance issues related to the CDOS and other areas, but then also talk about what that means to your programs. All right, so now, because we did the survey, now this is intentional. So this is the activity that I would like you guys to participate in. If we go to that link right there, so back on the phones, back on the devices, let's hope this kind of works this time. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to complete this. I don't want you to spend a lot of time on it, because what I want you to show the feature of what this looks like afterwards. Like that's the thing that I want to show you on. So this is a career plan that we developed through using Google Docs, or in Google Forms specifically. It's a free resource. So I'm not going to sit here and try to upsell you on something that's not free and available. But what we've been able to do is we took a lot of the questions off of that document, we stuck it into the survey, we have students fill that out, and then when students press submit at the very bottom of that form, it regenerates back to their career plan. So one of the nice features of that is now we're seeing many more students that are producing much more authentic career plans. In addition to that, we're fulfilling the compliance for the CDOS, we're fulfilling compliance for different types of programmings, and they look better. So we used to put these in front of students that on a piece of paper, and we would say to them, please fill this out, and their abilities were hanging out with friends, playing video games, those types of things. And what we want to do is pretend you're a kid, pretend you're yourself. It doesn't really matter to me. For me, I don't want you spending a ton of time on it. Again, I just want to show you the feature of what it looks like afterwards.
And we can use this, we can steal this from you?
You can steal it. The only problem is it's set up to my account.
Sure.
So if you give this URL to your kids and they start submitting it, I'm going to start getting a ton of notifications about what that looks like. At the very end, I do share all of the resources. So I have all the forms set up 9th through 12th grade, all the documents set up 9th through 12th grade, all the filing set up 9th through 10th grade. All you got to do is steal it, copy it, put it in your Google Drive, and I'll show you what this looks like and how you set it up. please do not put in a second career because then we're just gonna.
Oh, are we showing stuff?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
So does this mirror the career plan
It
that the
does.
state gave us?
It does, and I'll show you an example. So at the very, struggling with tech this morning. The very beginning of career planning, when I walked into the districts, we were looking at things like this. Handwritten forms, you weren't getting much out of it. You know, their personal activities are hanging out with friends. They like working with people. From there, they display empathy and responsibility. Areas they need to strengthen, if hands-on, I pick it up quick. I'm not too sure what that means, or so as we're putting these documents together and we're awarding the CDOS, I'm looking at myself and I'm like, if I never audited this and said, hey Mike, I want to see your career plans, I'd be like, can we talk about not showing you the career plans because they don't look very authentic. So we implemented this resource this year with our special ed population. And now we're getting much more targeted and specific documents on each individual kid. This kid specifically, they assess their abilities, they correspond with career areas that they're interested in. From there, you see where their strengths, their skills are, their community experiences, the skills they acquired through those community experiences. You keep on going forward, they research through careers, they're much more knowledgeable about those careers now because it's not just, hey, I want to be a professional football player. They have to engage in career research. It connects to IEP development because we ask for their post-secondary goals. And then, as we go forward, we ask them to assess themselves and answer questions. So now as we're looking at students that are able to really engage in the process, I feel a lot better about what this looks like than initially. Please submit it at the end, if you get to the end. And as you see, one of the advantages is because it's mobile, the kids are able to use their cell phone. It's obviously a tech feature that they're able to, use on a daily basis. We have kids use phones during this process. We have kids using Chromebooks during this process. It's been a very nice way to engage students in career planning. And yeah, I understand that I'm in a unique role in 2 districts. You know, not everyone has a CDOS coordinator. And I'm sharing the resource because I think realistically this could be implemented through counseling programming or through some curriculum developments as well, because you'll see in the next few years how important career planning is going to be long term. And in the interim, I'm going to show you what Google Forms does for us as counselors, as administrators, as program developers, as we're trying to determine data points to forge our initiatives for our students. Yeah.
So how do you get this to all the kids? Do the school counselors go into
So
the classrooms?
I'm doing it.
You're doing
So
it.
so
Okay.
I'm a CDOS coordinator. I push into the classrooms. Specifically right now, the grant that I work under is increasing and engaging special ed students in career and technical education, work-based learning, and working on them conferring the CDOS to special ed students. Students that are leaving as that as their only exit credential. Students are also leaving with that as a supplement to their diploma. So I've spent about 4 weeks right now going and pushing into classrooms, into our resource rooms, into our reinforcement periods, and delivering this to the special ed students. The link's accessible, so if students that want to engage in this process independently, they can.
So right now at Lancaster, you're at Lancaster?
And Clarence.
So this is just for special education you're doing it?
Just
not
for-
not for everybody?
Not for everyone. I'm 50% of my time at both places.
Sure.
If I did career planning for everyone, I would never leave one of the specific
Right,
schools. So right now it's been big for us just to kind of engage our special ed population into that, because this is the first year we're rolling this out. You know, so
So then how do you do this with, like, let's say a junior or senior? Do you how do you, because
So-
you have it 9th and 10th grade.
So that's one of the things that we're thinking about.
Okay.
So I spent some curriculum time over the summer just developing the process to engage all students in the same form in what it looks like. As we're experimenting with different ideas, what's going to end up happening is I'm going to get this form, I'm going to give it to the kids next year and be like, come on, like I just did this last year. So I have to find a different way to engage students in maybe some more in-depth questions associated with the form, but still find ways to pull those data points as well.
And then all that data through that Google form goes onto the career plan template like you just showed us?
Yeah,
That's how it goes
automatically.
out?
Automatically.
That's amazing.
And I'll show you, and it's a simple setup. It's a simple setup. So it's not like, it's not like I'm telling you that. I mean, I have a comfort level with technology, but you don't need to be the most progressive individual thinker about tech and how to integrate it. You use Google Forms, you use an extension, you match them together, and boom, it's set up. All right. So as we're talking about career, I'm gonna struggle with this apparently. As we're talking about career planning, I just want to talk about the compliance features of career planning. Obviously, it's a component of the CDOS credential. Students that engage in the process moving towards the CDOS credential must be provided with the state form to be able to initiate that process annually. So there's a lot of interpretation about what that looks like. Sometimes people say, hey, I meet with my kids, we do the plan in 12th grade, but consecutively for 9th and 10th, 11th grade, I'm meeting with those kids, and I think that counts. And if you feel good about that, then that's fine, but I certainly don't. In the regulations, school districts must provide students with the form to document the student's career plans. NICET has developed a model form for this purpose. They want you to use that form for whatever reason, or the components of that form for whatever reason. In addition, as we all know, counseling regulations have changed. That's great. But in there, an annual review of each student's educational progress and career plan must take place with each student. Another compliance feature. In transition planning, a student's preferences and interests as identified in his or her career plans must be reviewed annually and considered in the development of the student's IEPs. So, these are 3 regulations in New York State that they're compelling schools to say, hey guys, please do career planning because it's going to be an essential feature of programming long term. And then, one of the new initiatives is the ESSA initiative. Everyone familiar with the Every Student Succeeds Act? You had NCLB, President Obama signed ESSA. From there, you get your funding through ESEA, the Elementary Secondary Education Act. What they did is states this fall had to submit their planning for accountability for the state documentation for federal funding. And what they included in there is a measure for college, career, and civic readiness. The accountability feature of that is exit. So when students are looking at exiting high school, when we talk about accountability for state funding, when we talk about accountability for federal funding, when we talk about accountability for schools in need of improvement, schools identified, the state has said they are going to weight, on average, whatever the readiness measure is, and if you see Regis Diploma with a CDOS endorsement gets an extra 0.5%. And that's new. That's like fresh out. The state submitted their documentation about 2 weeks ago, and that is why you're going to see schools saying to themselves, we got to get on board with this. And a lot of the times, we leverage our programming through BOCES, through Harkness. So what ends up happening is Harkness does a great job of ensuring that kids are getting everything, but it really is the district's responsibility to make sure that students are engaging in the career planning process, especially if that's going to be highly weighted, and especially if that's going to be a component of the CDOS credential to receive that. So now we talk about the difference between compliance, which the state tells you got to do that, cool, they throw out initiatives, they change counseling regulations, go ahead, we got to do that. But now let's talk about what this means to program evaluation. So when you break up the data on the form, any question that I have for that, it will submit automatically into Google Forms, and for me, I have it set up by grade level. So by grade level, I can pull cumulative statistics on students, how they're ranking themselves, and specifically for us, what students in special ed population will be involved in school community experiences, what students in special ed are being involved in different types of courses, how do they rank themselves, and so on and so forth. So for me as a program developer, I love the data. And as counselors, I would imagine that you love the data as well because you're always pulled into meetings and those administrators want to be like, all right, where are kids going in 4 years? What are their post-secondary plans? What type of courses they're interested in? You know, how are our kids doing? Like what are their goals? What achievement levels do they have? You guys are always engaged in those conversations, and sometimes it's hard to pull those data points. Because when you use Google Forms, you can pull those data points on kids, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Additionally, being a counselor for 10 years, you pull a kid in 9th grade, and I used to love it. You pull a kid in 9th grade, and they'd be like, hey, Mr. Candela, you know, I want to be a doctor. And then you look at their programming, and you're like, the person inside you is like, no freaking way, man. Like, there's no way that kid's ever going to be a doctor. They're in Algebra A. They're in non-credit, non-regents, science. There's no way that that's going to happen. You chuckle. You then put your counselor voice on. You're like, okay, here's a bunch of research I want you to do. I want you to look at the websites, look at the curriculum, and talk to the students about what you want to see them do when they get back to you in 10th grade. 10th grade rolls around, conversation starts, hey, what do you want to do when you get out of high school? I want to be a doctor. At this point, you're furious. You're like, all right, did you look up any of the information? Oh no, I forgot about that. So for me, one of the big essential features of career planning is it makes the kid put it on paper. It holds them accountable to their responsibilities associated with that. And the minute that kid presses submit, I share it with the counselors, with the special education teachers, and they can edit it with them. So when you're meeting with your students with your annual reviews, hey, it says your action plans are, you want to go to college, but you're in 9th grade, and you put your action plans are to go to college. What are you going to do in 9th grade to make that a possibility? You're going to work on your achievement levels in math. You're going to talk to your teachers in AIS to find some ways to overcome your weaknesses. And those are very direct and deliberate conversations you're having with the kid, as opposed to, do we really have to go over this again? I figured out, you got to look at curriculum, you got to look at this, you got to look at this, and you're doing those things over and over. At 11th grade, you just want to point the kid out of your office. Like, you did not look up anything that we talked about, and now you're in 11th grade, and now we're worried about everything else. So one of the nice things about this is it'll help you, engage in those conversations with students and hold them accountable and make them more productive in the process. What else do I have up there? Support the opportunity for the pathway. That's what we sell it as. We sell it as your 4+1 option. We want kids to get those 4 examinations. We know that New York State Global is the one that's going to be a struggle for students, and we deliberately at both districts sell it as a 4+1 option to increase the control rate, because if I'm looking back at that state accountability system, and it says local diploma 1 or Regents diploma plus the CDOS, and they use the CDOS as the pathway, and they get a 1.5, that's what I get excited about all day, using it to manipulate the state accountability system. One of the things that I'll show you is your data intersections. For counselors and administrators, we're always looking at all these data pieces, but where do they come together? And that's going to be a nice thing about using Google Forms. And then obviously your more cohesive IEP development. Students are engaging in a process that has them assess their abilities, assess their skills, talk about steps to strengthen that, and those are great PLEP statements for special education teachers to include in their IEP development, and they eat up the information as well.
So like, did you say Regents, the typical 5 is 1.4, so not passing both histories, but going the pathway is 1.5?
Yeah. So a Regents and a local is a 1 for the state accountability system as it's written right now, being approved by the federal government. A Regents that would have been a local because the students qualified for the pathway. They received their 4 examinations. You thought they were going to leave with the local because they couldn't get that global examination, but they beat eligibility for the CDOS credential because these schools are keeping career planning on file, but also they're developing programs to engage students in the process for work-based learning and career and technical education. That kid goes from what you think was going to be a 1 to a 1.5 because they got the Regents now, but they use the pathway as a CDOS, now they get an extra half for that. Does that make sense? Hopefully.
But also, when the regents say he did pass both histories, there's no advantage to going pathway over.
There's really not.
That's still 1-5, the
So
regents?
5 regents is a 1. No matter which way you look at it. 5 regents is a 1, a regents plus the CDOS is a 1.5. So that's the advantage for schools. To look at their
So
programming.
that's really like 6.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure I'm
So
understanding.
if you get a regents that corresponds with the CDOS credential, you're a 1.5. If you just get a straight regents, you're a 1. So if that kid passes 13 exams, but he doesn't meet the advanced designation, he can get a regents, but he's only a 1 still. If he passes only 4 exams, he or she passes only 4 exams, uses the CDOS pathway, they're a 1.5 in the state accountability system. And what does that mean long term? I don't know. But like, I'm being honest, because when like, yeah, you know, yay, it's a 1.5, like I get that. But I really do think it'll be eventually tied into the AYP indicators for districts. I think it'll eventually be tied into accountability measures, like are your students in the district showing growth? All right. So when we look at what this looks like, so Google Forms, every question that I have on that document collectively will include the data. So specifically, I pulled the data for Lancaster. We're not done yet, but I pulled the data for Lancaster, and we talk about those intersections, all right? So our students with disabilities in 10th and 11th and 12th grade, on average, 32% of those students report having no work experience. And if you saw, the work experience that I wrote on there was not only employment. Yeah, I get it. Kids in high school are not going to engage in employment, but I put stuff on there like community service. I put stuff on there like internship programs. I put stuff on that like job shadowing. 32% of our students at Lancaster that are classified in 10th and 11th, 12th grade do not engage in any type of work experience prior to graduating. That's a compelling number. When I was 14, 15 years old, I was working, and what do those teach me to do? They taught me that I never wanted to push carts at Quality Markets ever again. They taught me that no matter what I ended up doing, my boss is gonna hate me because he was an unhappy person, and it humbles me. Kids are not being exposed to those social skills associated with employment. So that's your first data point. The second data point that I pulled was our post-secondary planning for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. 32% of our students with disabilities in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade at Lancaster are not being exposed to work experiences. But 22% of them are reporting, I'm gonna go get a job after high school. That's when we talk about those data intersections. We have 2 data points that are converging at a rate that can be considered moderately alarming to a school district. Now, what are we doing to make sure that students are exposed to work experiences prior to them exiting? Because as much as we want kids to graduate, we want to make sure that we're taken care of, right, long term. You ever look at a kid and you're like, you're going to be a lawyer? I better never get in trouble when I'm in my 50s. So that's the advantage of using Google Forms as opposed to any other platform that I'm aware of. Go ahead.
And how are you guys able then to combine your data for, like, you're doing all the special ed students and then the counselors are working the piece with your regular ed population?
We're still kind of determining that.
Oh, okay.
So I started in April. We developed the career planning online, and we are still trying to figure out what's the next step. I am very close to being done with the special ed students in both districts. There's about 500. What that means is about 500 kids are engaging in career planning in about 4 weeks. Once we finish in November, we're going to make a determination about if we project this onto regular ed. We're still kind of, and by we, me, I still have to figure out what my schedule looks like. That's what it comes down to. Being a shared staff member, I think I spent 5 hours at Lancaster this week. So, you know, my time is valuable while I'm there, and I try to do as much as I possibly can, but I'm also restricted in the fact that I spend 3 days out of the week sometimes at the place.
But right now, the counselors are actually working these forms in class?
I do not believe they are at either district.
Okay.
So, you know, coming into the district and trying to figure out ways to work under the grant that I work under, it's engaging students with disabilities. I'm fulfilling that first, and then we'll shoot off of that if we possibly can. That's in your question.
So are the districts doing career plans with all kids?
So, that's a similar question.
Yeah.
Right now, because I operate under a grant, the grant that I operate under says engaging students with disabilities. That's my population that I'm worried about right now. It is our hope that once we get off the grant, we project that into every student, every population of students, to make sure that data is on track, because that's going to be much more compelling than our students with disabilities. I wear and I worry about special ed right now. That is fully my role, to make sure that kids with disabilities are meeting the performance indicators for CDOF. That's where I live. If the counselors at either district want to engage in this process, or if they want me to go ahead and do that, I will at some point, just that I haven't thought about that yet.
I just have some
Sure.
comments to make on the VETS form.
Yeah.
Is anybody here, or has anybody here been asked to fill out a VETS form regarding career education and what you're doing for your students? The other day, yesterday, I was given a form, and there's a whole, and I've never been asked to do this before, so I think this whole grid is brand new. The question was on there, do you do a written career education plan for your students, and how many of these students have disabilities? That's been on there for years. Now there's a big grid that asks you 9 through 12, how many kids are doing this? I don't have it with me, obviously, so I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's all the things that you're
All the
talking about right
accountability.
now.
Yeah.
And how many kids are doing volunteer work? How many kids are working? We don't have that data because we've never asked our kids that. How many kids are doing CDOS? How many kids are doing this? And how many kids with disabilities are doing this? So, anyways, there's a whole big grid and it's a whole new thing, and I just wanted to make that comment because it's out there and this is what we're going to be asked to do.
And these are all data points that you can pull off of these. So like if your districts are saying to themselves, hey, this looks like a really good resource, I'm going to go ahead and institute that at a grade level. Maybe all 9th graders are going to start this process. You can pull those data points when you're doing that accountability data.
Well, they gave it to me yesterday. They want it back on Tuesday.
Right. I know exactly. I did the bed forms at my other district for everything counseling related. I know exactly what you're talking about. So that's the shared folder. If you write down that link, that will link you to all the resources. That will link you to the survey that I gave out today. That'll link you to all the career plans, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And I'm going to keep that active probably for a week or so. It's a public link. So you all, by having that link, you have access to edit anything in there. Because it's linked to my school account, I'm just going to keep it active for about a week. I would just ask that if you go back to your districts today and you want to make a copy of it, make a copy of it, put it on your Google Drive, because I'm going to delete it in about a week because I don't want people manipulating the stuff that's in there. So here's how you set it up. You go to Google Forms. All right? You go to Google Forms, you add your questions in, or if you want to borrow what I have, knock yourself out. Borrow what I have. You download an extension called Form Publisher.
Can you send this, your
That's
presentation?
it, that's in that Google
Well, I
Form.
know, but can you send this presentation, like email it out so that we just like have the whole
Sure,
presentation?
yeah, I'll, Trey?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send it to Trey.
Mark will put it back up on the website.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there's an extension called Form Publisher. You have two options. You can pay for one. I pay for one because we're running a lot of kids through this process. There is a monthly cap and there's a free option. So if you want to mess around with it and see what it kind of looks like for the free option, maybe it'll meet the needs of your district, maybe it won't. But for me, being in 2 districts, it's like $50 a year that I pay for it. It's no big deal. I used to use it for 504s. You know, I used to be a 504 coordinator in another district. When you're printing out all that documentation, you have 2 options. Go in and change every address, or link to a Google form, load in a template, and then it kind of automatically does it for you. That's how we started. That's how I specifically started using that extension. We're also using this for executive functioning summary forms. So when you go into Google Forms and you create something, you try to print all those data points, a career plan is going to print out like 35 pages off of what you have submitted in there. But by manipulating the system to load your template in, and then allowing it to regenerate that career plan, what ends up happening then is it makes it much more concise, but we're also finding different ways to use this for other applications as well. So you use your typical Google Forms or from you, I copy what I have. You download the extension, you borrow my template that I created to be able to pull the questions from the Google form into the career plan. You load it in, you set up your provisions, you set up your filing, and you press save and start messing around with it. It's that simple. I'll show you what it looks like on the back end for me.
Oh, this presentation.
when you log into this presentation's right in there.
Yeah. So for me, this is my Google form. All right, this is my Google form. I have, you know, my 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. I asked everyone to do the 9th grade one if they were able to submit them. Was anyone able to successfully submit it?
I did.
Beautiful. All right. So what I do is I set it up. I set up the Google form to file those plans automatically into this folder. I didn't do any magic here. I wasn't clicking buttons. Literally, by the setup, those kids press submit. What ends up happening is it converts it and it files it as I want it to appear. For people that don't have access to secretaries, me, I don't have a secretary. I'm living out of a book bag in a vehicle sometimes. This has been a great resource for me. So, Dave, not that I want to pull up Dave, but here's Dave's career plan. There it is. All there, ready to go, ready to be accessed by anyone who has access to the folder. It's also emailed to the teachers, or it's emailed to the student. And if you set it up the right way, you can make it automatically emailed to the parent as well.
And that was set up through that
The Google Forms, yep. So the Google form, you create the form, you download the template, you download the extension, you borrow my template, you make it a copy, and you load it in. And I'll show you guys what it looks like.
Then what happens when he goes to start from scratch?
So that's where we're trying to. That's what we're trying to figure out. So being new to both districts, for me it was just big on. So we're creating programs at both places. We're trying to find ways to meet the needs of students with disabilities. For me, I just needed data to support that. Like that's what it came down to. Is I'm going to meetings, I'm talking to administrators, I'm talking to CSC chairpersons about where we're going to go long term. I just needed the data at this point to support any initiative that we want to implement. For me, that's what this was for this year. Next year, if I put the same form in front of a kid, as I said before, they're gonna be like, get this out of here. Like, I just did this last year. Why are you making me do this? And I have to methodically think of what this looks like beyond this. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I would change it. I want to change it, and personally, I would recommend changing it from year to year to year. So this way, kids are not repetitively doing the same things, but making sure that you put those data points on there that you want to pull from year to year, like your post-secondary plan. Their career interests may be changed, but you're going to want your post-secondary planning and any changes to work experience, school activities, you're going to want those automatically, but there's no need to make them fill out everything again. So for me, what this looks like, here's my little Google form. That's how it's set up. 7 responses. Thank you for the 7 for participating. In this bottom corner, that little add-ons right here. You click that, you search Form Publisher. For me, Form Publisher is automatically added to my Google Forms at this point moving forward. There it is. You walk through each individual step. It asks if I have a template. You all have a template now. You have a template because I gave you the template. There it is. 9th, 10th, 11th grader at the bottom here. So you don't have to worry about coding or anything like that. You set up your destination. You set up your sharing options. You set up how you're gonna file a documentation. It's there. Like it's just a matter of messing around with it and having the time to do that.
So you work for Lancaster and Clarence?
Yeah, Trey invited me. Shout out.
Okay, so how long are you with those 2 districts?
So
this is a grant?
So we've been told that we've been told that we're supposed to be so I'm not the only professional in the program. I have 2 business teachers, I have 3 job coaches, and then I have a transition coordinator as well. So we have about 5 professionals at both locations. And we've been told that both districts intend on putting in their budget for next school year. Obviously, because I think there's value to it. I mean, I think you know, meeting with the counselors initially, they were like, all right, Mike, like we got a lot what we're doing now. Like, please don't put any more on us. And I was like, don't worry. Like, I'm gonna take care of what I want to do. I just want your support in being able to do those things. I'm also at a weird point in my life professionally. I have a building level certificate. I'm not an administrator. I have a district level certificate. I'm not an administrator. Unfortunately, I would imagine that in the next 6 to 7 months, I will be looking at aggressively trying to become an administrator because that's what I want to do when I grow up.
So can other districts tap into your services at this point or no?
At this point, I would probably say no, just because I'm having enough time meeting the needs for both districts as it is.
You have one. It's the same girl we have.
Oh, okay then.
But you have her only 1 day a week. I
Oh,
don't think
yeah.
she knows this stuff.
No,
But
no.
the Christian Christian
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
says Thursdays.
Okay.
The
That's
phantom.
that's
Try to
the
help you
same
never feel
grade.
like that for me.
Okay,
So we gotta get her connected.
right,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah, I can share resources with that. So, and I mean, I know Buffalo has a CDOS coordinator. Erie and Bosse's has their coordinators as well. I don't know of very many other CDOS coordinators in the area, I'm going to be honest.
I do now, yes.
Go ahead.
So, we're from
Stay.
Hamburg. We're from Hamburg, and I was kind of put in a unique position being a business teacher, did the academies, the internship program, and then when this all kind of came about, the position kind of expanded to include a little bit of CDOS, but there was just so many questions district-wide. Like I personally had really zero experience with special education, writing IEPs, any of that
Sure.
stuff, aside from having some students in my classes over the years. So what are you seeing, because I'm still in it, and you know, my clarification was no, you're the work-based learning, try to provide work-based learning for some of these students, place them in internships, but we don't really have like a CDOS person per se that is doing anything that you do.
Sure.
So how are you kind of seeing that work with like, you know, the traditional business internship coordinator with the special ed department? Are you seeing anything?
So it's been a working relationship, you know, at both districts. I'm trying to find my own home in both of them as well, but also trying to make sure that I'm as open and as authentic as possible when I'm having these conversations with teachers and counselors. And I've always said to every special education teacher that I work with and every counselor I work with and every internship coordinator, the last thing that I want to do is add more to your plate. Like, these are my ideas, this is what I want to do. But I find myself filling different types of roles that you talked about, like we're linking kids to work-based learning. So as a product of my program, we have job coaches that we have community-based experiences set up for students with disabilities. And under the supervision of me, she is working with students on site that have been established. So in a way, I'm doing work-based learning as well. So it's not just career planning that I end up doing. That was just a feature that I thought was going to be very applicable to this audience. But I've done tons of presentations on work-based learning and what that looks like at different districts, what CTE courses look like at different districts. So for me, I'm knowledgeable about every 4 of those concepts in this role. But no one ever said, Mike, just worry about career planning. I found my niche in both districts, I would have to say. So and that's going to continue to evolve, and we're going to see where that ends up going. Obviously, the data supports the fact that we need work-based learning at Lancaster. I'm assuming the data is replicated at Clarence as well, so we're going to start aggressively looking at those options, and that means I will now be a work-based learning coordinator for part of the year as well.
Are you the one that was certified work-based learning?
So, you have your certified work-based learning components, you got your general education work experience, you got your CEIP, you got all those official ones. Then you got the unofficial ones. That's where I'm at. So school-based enterprises, community-based work experiences, internships that appear to be job shadows but are still kind of tracked as internships. Those are the hours that I'm responsible for tracking for because I don't have that extension on my cert. I couldn't go back to school again right now for this point in my life to get those 3 classes. I don't want to do it.
Do you have a business card?
No, but I have my email address because, again,
Because you're trying to get
I just want to pick your brain. I just
calling
have,
you tonight.
no, just in case,
For me, the thing is, I just use my Lancaster email for almost every, and it's just mcandela@lancasterschools.org. That's in the presentation. No knock to Clarence. I hate Outlook because I'm a Google guy. So Clarence uses Outlook. I try to use my Gmail as much as possible because that's connected to my phone and everything and all my documents. Sure.
The other people that you have working with you, what are their roles?
So we have a transition coordinator that's specifically linking students to Access VR. We also have a business teacher at Lancaster and Clarence that are involved in creating career and technical education that meets a need of special education students. They cannot be serviced with the courses that the districts currently have. So think about your populations, at the very top of your end of special ed, you got resource room. At the very bottom of your spectrum, you get functional students. Both districts are still meeting the needs both districts are doing a great job meeting the needs of
those higher level special education students, but the functional students, the self-contained students, the students that are quote unquote on parallel paths, you know, you might get a diploma, but we need to have the CDOS just kind of there. That's my population for courses. And I have 2 teachers at both, one at each district, that is involved in creating differentiated programming for those students for CTE education. We have a job coach at an internship site. That's a full-day internship at Harrisville Nursing Home. And then we have a job coach that is at Clarence that rotates around our businesses that we have relationships with. And then I have a special ed teacher half-time at Lancaster to supplement the support in the CTE classes. And then there's me. It's kind of like I'm a support professional. That's what I call myself at this point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Was there a career interest in inventory built right into your program?
So not an inventory. So,
Okay.
you know, when we're looking at inventories, to add that in there would have just annihilated the kids. That's a transition activity for us. So our transition coordinator pushes into 9th grade specifically to do that with our special ed students. Because again, we work under the grant for special ed only right now. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your time, everyone. I appreciate it. You do?
What? I know. You should work for the state. You should sell this to the state. I think your job at the state education department.
We have no idea.
Who did? No, I never met her. Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I never met her actually. And switching jobs and being in 2 places like, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. No. I kind of reached my professional plateau there. You know, I was kind of done there, doing a lot of stuff there. It was just kind of like I needed to move on with my life. So. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I want to say thank you so much to Mike for coming. This is really informative. I think all of our heads are kind of spinning now. How we're going to do this and look at our history. Nancy is going to be coming down with some animals for us to work with and stuff, so I think that'll be really fun. So we'll get some of the business stuff done real quick in the meantime. We have the other officers here today. So as far as the rest of the agenda for the professional development for the year, we're almost done with it. I know everyone has been asking for the calendar for the year. We are almost done with it. We should be having it out hopefully next week. So there's still a couple of things that we want to get a survey on from some of our members. Next month's meeting,
It might just be a little delayed.
do you want to talk about it for a second?
Our next meeting will be November 17th. It's at Brian Stratton South Campus, and it's going to be on the benefits of international education and studying abroad. And we're also going to have the University of Buffalo come in. They're going to talk about the new coalition application. So it should be interesting. Myself, Kim and Jody Coleman from Lancaster had an opportunity to go to Scotland. So we have one of the deans from Glasgow Caledonian University, which is based out of Glasgow, Scotland, coming and talking about the benefits of international ed, and going to talk about the differences and the similarities about UK education versus ours. So it should be a pretty good program. And again, UB is adding on and talking about the coalition application. I will get the announcement out to you guys probably sometime next week.
Okay, great. The next month after that, we're actually going to be doing something a little different. Kelly Wardine is setting up at the Curtis Hotel. We're going to be doing hospitality and tourism. Just so you guys know here, we're probably going to do it at noon, and then afterwards have some professional development afterwards. That'll be like our professional development Christmas party, whatever. We'll go from there, but we'll have more information. Something that just came up, Pat and I talked, for our February meeting, I just finalized things with the joint principals meeting. So that is, I just got that solidified this week at ECC North. That's typically when we do our joint meeting. However, the auto industry really wants to talk to us as well. And actually, Pat emailed me yesterday, it came up this week, and I wanted to see if people would be interested in this. So the way that it worked out, unfortunately, was February 9th, which is the same day that we just got everything set up for the joint principals meeting. But they want to do something with us and give us a really nice presentation at the auto show, which would be that same day, which I think would be a great opportunity to talk. It's in the email, and I can pull it up on my phone, but I think they want to give us lunch. They want to put on a whole thing, private tours of the auto show, stuff like that. I think it would be really interesting. I think it's a rare opportunity. So we're going to meet as officers after this meeting, but I think one of the ideas that was thrown out there is maybe making it a whole day professional development. I don't know if that would be a possibility. We would do ECC North in the morning and then go to the convention center for the auto show in the afternoon. So this is something we're going to think about it, but I just want to get from you guys, is that something that you guys would be interested in or that you think you'd be able to get out of school to do?
What's the date?
February 9th?
We're scheduling.
Scheduling?
Yeah.
I mean, we might set it up for the people who can do it. What did you say? You could do it? Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing too is if it really was a challenge, maybe some people would want to pick the morning or pick the afternoon if they couldn't do the whole day. I hate to take away from what we set up at UCC North, but I think this is a really good opportunity for us, and it's unique. It's the only time of year we could do it. Otherwise, we could wait till next year to do it. And maybe if only a few people attend it, we will do it again next year if people can't get out of their buildings. So it's something we're going to talk about. Obviously, we'll put it out on the website. Hopefully, all of you guys have checked out our new website. It's gotten a lot of traffic. I think it's worked really well so far. We've put a lot of work. Mark and Pat especially, and Mark's doing a fantastic job keeping it updated. I don't know if there's any time at the end of this, if anyone wanted to see how it worked, if we want to do a quick demonstration. When the animals come down, I want to stop whatever we're doing because they're ready.
They're ready.
Oh, they're ready. All right. Well, why don't we finish the rest of this? I didn't know they were on.
With my coffee. What's 2 o'clock? You know what? I read all my emails. That's why I find these things. I read every word. And I just got an email. I got an email. I responded to it. It was the first year they were doing it. So then I shared it with other people, and I was talking to Pat and Remember, and Pat and Jody applied. They got it. So they went. Flag from Lancaster. Jody Crazy. So she applied and went. And everything. So it was only the second year that they just did it. So it's always in the summer. They treat If I see it come through in the spring, I'll forward it. I'll send it to the. So there's a couple programs that are really good. I'm going to put on the website. We always.
So we have 2 animals for you to meet today, and the students also have a bunch of different biofacts. And in case you didn't know, a lot of times you might think artifacts, but artifacts are items that were never living. Biofacts are pieces of formerly living animals. So starting over here with Georgianne, we'll just let you know what each student has, and we'd love for you to come take a look and stop at every station and see what's there.
I have an elephant skin and I have a hyena skull. I have an African rock python skin and a non-venomous skull.
I have a polar bear coat and a polar bear tracking collar.
I have a seal fur and a gorilla skull. I have an armadillo shell and an armadillo skull. I have a tiger pelt. And I'll be showing the vampire bat and the ball python.
Those are our live guests today. So you can touch pretty much everything that's here with the exception of the vampire bat. You certainly can pet the ball python. He's very friendly. So if you could please get up, just spend a moment, take a look at the different stations. Students want to talk to you a little bit about each item that is there.